I made a mistake. It was a snowy, sad winter day where I recorded this video. And potentially I was pretty wrong. Potentially a Planet Zoo doesn't make that much sense. I mean, potentially I've looked into things that are not so relevant. I don't know. But we are trying to bring light into the darkness of my sad opinion, of my wrong opinion, of my potentially very wrong way of looking into things. Hold on, you guys commented the crap out of it. We are looking at almost 200 comments. We are not going to look all of them, but I'm going to scroll through all of these. You will be seeing that on screen as soon as I've started the recording of the comments, and we are going to look into all of your comments. Again, as I said, we are looking at over 170 comments that you guys were giving to this video. So I'm mega happy of all of your connection and contribution to the video, but now we have to look into it. I'm gonna read them out, you'll see them on screen, and then I'm gonna talk about the point, and hopefully at the end of the video you actually know a little bit more what I was thinking and why I did this video, and if I still believe in what I said. Who knows? I think it's also a strength to sometimes, you know, sit down and say sorry if you're wrong. Say sorry if you potentially have, you know, said something that wasn't true, and potentially something that others showed you isn't true. But let's have a look, okay? Right, so here we are looking into your first comments, and I'm gonna start with the very first and the last comment to the video from Mertzvillain7070. We don't need a sequel soon. They just need to stop mucking about and make a bird and fish DLC already. Well, I think this comment is already pretty much for 20% of all the comments true. Pretty much 20% of you guys have said that. Now let's quickly figure it out. We have hoped for it for almost 4 years now. The first DLC in December of the first year of Planet Zoo in 2020 was the aquatic DLC that brought finally deep diving. And everyone thought, okay, well that's just the first step. We are soon after going to see full aquatic animals. That never happened. And we also didn't see any major improvements when it comes to birds. I mean, frankly, if we're looking at the walkthrough exhibits, these are just bigger exhibits and bigger animatronics, if you will. So we have bats, yes, we have them. We have got butterflies and stuff, which I do like. I like them the way they are done. But would you like them as parrots, for example, or like eagles, or I don't know? Is that really what you want to see? I mean, I could technically see that for a hummingbird, but other than that, is that really what we want to see? I really don't know, guys. Okay, let's have a look at the next one. I'm gonna scroll through here and let's see what is in here. Maybe we are going to read that out. Why not? We're going to take this from Linda Breuer 8995. So, personally, I don't think it's a smart idea to bring out a Planet Zoo 2 so soon for several reasons. Well, that's a good one because we can actually, you know, reply to most of them. One, it feels like a cash grab and actively push people away. I'm in the fortunate position that I can afford a new game when it comes out. To that, but a lot of people do not have that kind of money available. And it isn't the base game, but also all the DLCs. With our current 16 DLCs, we are at 160 euros in on DLCs alone, and there are still obvious gaps in the game of terms of animal roster, but also in terms of stuff to do for guests. We finally got broken gift shops. We still need the basic playground, which every zoo has. There is no way they can pull off these things in a new base game, let alone stand next year already. To at least flesh out the game enough to make the initial buy worth and actually add stuff with the updates and DLC rather than just rehashing and so on and so forth. I'm just gonna not read all of it because that is just way too long for the video. You can read it yourself if you want. But I think it's a very fair point. I have actually had a debate about the money situation, and let me just make that very clear. I obviously get the game and the DLCs for free, which comes obviously with being a creator. But that isn't only true for Planet Zoo. I almost get every game for free for testing. That is just when you have a certain reach on YouTube, you get the games to test. It's the way it is, okay? However, and I think this is a very, very important point, I always try to look at you've seen so many reviews on my channel in which I have always clearly said when I think that the DLC is not worth it. I always say that. I say like, you know what, better wait for maybe it being on a discount, maybe wait for it or enter a DLC giveaway or anything like that. I was always pretty open about this. And Till this day, I still believe that the value of $9.99 for any of the DLCs they offer is fair. I mean, sometimes they're more fair than others, simply because of what is in. However, in general, I think Frontier is pretty damn good at just making it in a way that they pretty much, well, actually, that's a fair value. If you just count the numbers of pieces, animals, versus the amount you spend, it's fair. However, and that is the most important bit over here, that's gonna take a couple more minutes now, so I'm gonna put away the phone and let's quickly talk about the money. Imagine the game is going to be released at the end of 2026. And that means from now on till then, we have about 2 years of time. Let's imagine we would go on like now with the game we already have, with the same DLCs and no breakthrough in the DLCs. We would just get more of the same. More, I don't know, elephant variants, more antelopes, more bears, more tigers, more whatevers, you know, and potentially at some point a Valrus, okay, but like we stay in the roster available. And I'm gonna get to why this, I think this is the absolute minimum we can expect, or the maximum we could expect from Planet Zoo 1. I'll come to that in a second. But the other thing is, imagine they stop now from the next DLC. So after March 2024, and I believe this is what everyone knows now, it's the end of DLCs, okay? So cap that, there's only $10 you're gonna spend on this game. And then there is 2 years of a void. Actually, it's a bit more than 2 years, because you've got like, you know, 3/4 of 2024, then you've got the entire 2025, and then you've got at least again 9 to 10 to 11 months of 2025. So it's almost more than 2 years. Imagine in those 2 years you would have gotten 4 DLCs each. They would add up to $80, okay? 80 euros. Now imagine the new game comes out for a full price of 60. That alone would mean, if you compare 80 to 60, that you have got 20 spare, and for 2 more DLCs. And I believe if they are bringing out the game in 2026, and don't get me wrong, that 2025 one was a tiny bit of a push in the last video. Realistically, I would think Planet Zoo 2 is not before 2026. 2025 is pretty much unrealistic, but 2026 is on... Yeah, let's talk about that with some other comments, but imagine that. So you've got 60 on the one hand and 80 on the other hand you would have spent during this time. And if you add up to this one on the right hand side with the 60, you add up another 20, you are also at 80. So what value would you get for both? You would pay $80 to get the full roster of animals without any major upgrade in the system. And it's not even full, because you don't get proper birds and you don't get proper fish. It's pretty simple to say, because there is a reason for that. We are going to talk about in another comment. And on the other hand side, you get a completely new game with a way bigger roster than the first game. Pretty sure about that. If you look at Jurassic World Evolution 2, if you look at Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, if you look at, for example, even Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 and so on, the base roster was always better than the previous one. The same goes even for City Skylines 2, even though they messed up the launch. Even there, the base game already has quite a lot more than the, you know, original base game. You always have to compare that to the original base game. Yes, you potentially wouldn't have all the DLC animals, but if you have 2 more added to that, you've got 80 versus 80, and then imagine you've got 80 for the new game with new mechanics, with diving, with full swimming, or like full diving, with full aquatics, with birds, and potentially even playgrounds and such. I think that was a major win if you compare those two. The other option we have to talk about, and let's find a suitable comment for that, okay? I'm gonna go through the comments a little bit further here. Okay, just one comment in between from Bison Emo. Thank you so much, mate. Once again, your dedication to improving the production quality of your videos is really shining through. Hope that stays true to this one too. YouTube will notice eventually. No, it won't. But okay. Let's have a look at the next one. That is pretty much interesting. So the next one is from Altemsvo8390. I hope I pronounced that correctly. The comment is, while I agree that Planet Zoo 2 would be good idea for Frontier and I'd love to get it, I think 2025 is way too soon. I'd look at 2027 or 2028. Partially to the development of the new systems, but also because I think there will be more excitement if Planet Zoo is out of support for a while. The question is, can Frontier wait that long? But if they publish earlier, I'm afraid the improvements are going to be very incremental. I love this comment because this is one of the things I thought about the most. Initially, I would agree. It always seems that way if you have a game that is end of support. But the problem is, we have to look at it from a different angle. Frontier is in trouble for already a year or more, and Planet Zoo has been released in 2019. It hasn't received a major engine overall anything. They have upgraded it to the new engine of Jurassic World Evolution 2, but that's already quite a years ago. And so the game has been in more or less a maintenance mode. We should not forget, it's not a full development on this game. They have reduced staff over time, that is a given, that's always normal. You shift people from one project to the other. And since the Planet franchise is a franchise that shares so many similarities, I mean, look at Planet Coaster versus Planet Zoo. You can literally see the same pieces being reused in Planet Zoo, the same mechanics being exactly the same in Planet Zoo that has been in, or they have been in Planet Coaster. Starting from the entire ride system to the path system and other things. They basically copied it over, okay? So you can expect that a major overhaul of another game that is being developed in the background, and we all assume that it's going to be Planet Coaster 2, and who knows, maybe we already know next Wednesday. If you want to know more about that, check the end of the video, because there's a little link to something Frontier has announced. But yeah, just looking at this, it's not like if they end support now, they will only start developing now. That is not how game development works. If they would have shifted to a Planet Zoo 2, that would have happened already more than a year or two ago, so that the overall time frame is a good 3 to 4 years, which is a lot more normal compared to if they would start now. I do agree, if they would start now, this would be way too soon, but I do not believe that. If they are planning a Planet Zoo 2, they surely are already for quite a while in the development. That is what I based my assumptions on. The reason for that is pretty simple. If they are going to bring out 3 creative simulation management games in the span of 3 years, you cannot develop them all in parallel, completely independent from each other. That's just impossible. It's not how much staff Frontier has, and including the layoffs, it's impossible, okay? So what they would have done, and I believe that is a brilliant move, they are going to expand the Planet universe. So what they would do is to leverage the best synergies out of it. So if they have started developing Planet Coaster back in 2019, as the leaks have said, that is quite some time in which they had a lot of time to improve the overall system for the Planet games. Imagine, it's not the same as the Jurassic World Evolution. They don't share, they do share some assets, you know, some trees, some palm trees, some geometry assets, but not like the core game mechanic. But the Planet games do. And so if a Planet Zoo 2 comes out, it obviously would benefit a tremendous amount from a Planet Coaster 2 development over time. So whether it's a weather system, whether it's path system, hopefully overhauled, and so on and so forth. So we shouldn't look at that as an independent project. Frontier is building the Planet universe, the Planet franchise, and these games work together. And this is where I base my assumptions on. As I said, I do agree it's not gonna be 2025, that's not the point. But 2026 might be a thing. Anyways, let's go into the next comment. With, oh my god. The question from Andy883, the question is, would Planet Zoo 2 eliminate any chance of Planko 2? As I've just said, not at all. I think they both go absolutely together, and so that just makes a lot of sense. Alright, the next comment is from Samukai3349, and this one personally I love a lot, because I think this is a point I missed in my video to talk about more. I really think I missed a chance over here. Now I will try to use that chance this time around. Let me first of all read that out. I think that your video is a great take on what could happen in the future, especially when you talk about AI and the DLSS system. They can make the best zoo game ever, and even the best management game. I think that if they had AI for the animations and graphics, it would make the game more beautiful, but also easier to play on some PC. Like Fortnite do when they have Nvidia graphic card and you enable the DLSS, for example. Even if I would love to see more DLC on the actual Planet Zoo, they have so much possibility, so I really look forward to it. I hope to see a hunting system for animals like snakes, spiders, of course. I would love to see birds and fish. I really enjoyed your video. First of all, thank you that you enjoyed the video. Hopefully you do the same too. So if you're sitting there, some guy, or, oh, you know, hello. But this comment gives me the chance now to talk a bit more why I think it's such a huge improvement without even going too much in the game mechanics. I think the overall industry, the overall technical chances we have that are not even at frontiers, they are basically already developed out there, you know. As you said, the DLSS system from Nvidia is absolutely mega when it comes to improving games and their performances. I do have to admit though that DLSS is stronger for graphic heavy games, which this isn't, so it wouldn't have that huge effect on the processing things. However, that would mean, especially when it comes to shaders and making animals a lot more realistic, or maybe even humans more realistic, the Nvidia DLSS system would make a huge difference. Now, let's talk quickly about the AI system. And this is where things get tricky. You know of Microsoft Flight Simulator. They brought out a new one for 2020. And usually in the past with the flight simulators, they were existing for a long time because Microsoft made a huge amount of money with these things. They sell airplanes and systems and updates and packs and blah blah blah. Look, it's completely crazy. It's like 10 times over what you are expecting or experiencing with Planet Zoo. It's crazy. But even they have out of nowhere announced a new Microsoft Flight Simulator for this year, for 2024. And why do they do this? Well, actually because Microsoft is always a cash grab. They do need the money and they do want the money. But because they are heavily investing in AI, and they have a system that they simply cannot implement in the old game. And this will hold true for a lot of different games out there. I think we all have to open our minds now for being in a revolutionary time at the moment. We are in the AI revolution. If you like or not, this is a fact. You know, people wouldn't have liked being in the revolution of computers 30 years ago. Surely they were like, no, I don't want this. But things happen and there's no going back anymore. And I'm a big fan of trying to leverage the positive because that's the only thing I can do. I just try to bring everything in I can to, you know, see the chances and make sure to use things accordingly to be on the positive side of things. And if you translate that into the game, especially with, I think, the biggest flaws in Planet Zoo 1 is or lies within the locomotion system. And that's kind of an unfair thing to say because I really respect what Frontier have done. I think the locomotion system is absolutely incredible for the time they have developed it. That's already quite some years ago. That's like 5 to 6 years ago, or maybe even 7, depending on when they started developing the system. There was nothing with AI going on in this time. So there is simply no way of baking that into the old Frankenstein version of it. There is just no chance. And at some point you have to make the decision. Will you go on? And see, it's not only to get the money, but there is only so much chance to improve. And while I agree that a Planet Zoo 1 with a lot of improvements could be an amazing game, you couldn't get this done in the time frame where you could have done so much more great things for a potential successor. And that's where I'm coming from. And hopefully that makes things a little bit more clear. And just to go more into I will make a video on that in the future. Hopefully I'll have the chance to talk to someone from the gaming industry who's a developer. I'm trying to reach out to some of those. I really hope that this is going to work out because that will show you how much the capabilities have increased due to AI systems. Oh, a lovely comment I just quickly want to point out from RPR8227. Probably I'm in the minority here, but I would love Planet Zoo 2 to be more casual friendly. Being a dad with a full-time job, I cannot spend hours on end to build something that looks decent. I do agree. As a creative person who has spent over 2,000 hours in this game, I fully agree to this statement. I think this is, again, and I've made a full 50-minute video or so about this, I do agree that another big flaw of Planet Zoo is that it is not casual friendly, and that this is the reason why we have a lot of core people watching this video, which essentially leads to these core people being very involved. But Planet Zoo lost a huge player base due to it being not casual friendly. And I would love a lot of improvements. Like I said in the past already, you can watch the video about why it's not casual friendly. I don't need to repeat all the points. If I remember, I'm gonna plop this somewhere here so you can click on it. Otherwise, you just need to type in casual on my channel and you'll find that. So I think the major issue is that everything is so fragmented. And if you want to have like a simple blueprint, for example, and that for me is the biggest example of how fragmented it is, and this blueprint contains only one piece from a themed set, you need to have this set A, purchased, and B, you need this to be researched already. So imagine you want to put down an Arctic building and someone used in this Arctic building a piece from the Oceania pack and a piece from the, let's say, South America pack. You will have all three things to be researched, even if it's just only one piece, and you obviously need to have all the three DLCs. You are not able to just take that, plop it down. And the fun bit is they have a system in which they can lock buildings. So for example, let's imagine you have an Arctic building and the Arctic building is labeled as Arctic and it has 80% of the pieces Arctic. Why not just give this to everyone who has owned the Arctic DLC and researched the DLC? And then the only thing you have to do is lock it in position so you can't edit it anymore to benefit from pieces, because that way you could cheat the system. But they have a working system like that. It is actually possible to open a park that has DLC pieces you do not own. The only thing is you can't save it. Okay, given with the casual mode you need to be able to save it, but you should not be able to edit the buildings anymore. However, for a casual player that doesn't even matter, because they just want to put down the building. See, that's the point. And I really feel like this is one of the strengths that could be done in a potential second game. To be fair, that could also be done in the first game, but that's one of the things I was talking about when it comes to more casual friendly. Alright, the next comment is from my lovely friend, the Lady Designer, and I had a lot of discussions with her about this topic, and maybe this is the one single time in our life where I am right, because usually Lady is always right. But she said, I love the editing and the video format of this video, Camel. Well done, thank you. Hopefully you like this one too. Still hate the idea of Zoo ending soon and a potential Planet Zoo too. No, I'm not yet accepting it. And I don't want to become excited yet about a potential Planet Zoo 2 in the next couple of years, so as I simply still love Planet Zoo 1 too much, and I still wish they would continue support for Zoo 1 for many years, which I know is not gonna happen. Sorry. Well, as I have had a lot of talks with Lady about this, let me take this opportunity to say one final time why I am pretty certain that they are going to end the support of Planet Zoo 1, no matter what we say as creators, no matter what the whole community says, no matter what the world says. There is a reason why. So first of all, let me point out the positive. Planet Zoo has been supported for 4 years plus. That is over a year and a half longer than Planet Coaster has. That is way longer than many games are supported. That is way longer than I have expected at the beginning. And we can also be just grateful for how much we've gotten into this game. I will make an exclusion to that, but more about this in one last comment. You've seen this in the last month. Frontier has done a lot of things. They have announced layoffs, they have announced a completely reshift of the company back to their core strengths and their roots. They have announced that they will completely change the way they are doing all the launches and games and stuff. They have dropped off their Frontier Foundry, which was basically a way of being a publisher and giving other developers the chance to develop something. So they are going all the way back to their core. And what that means is they have to restructure, they have to change things, they have to do something new. So it's not about us, what we want. They have decided, they have made a decision. And you can see that. Look, I mean, and I don't, full respect to all the people working at Frontier, but look at the simple thing. The souvenir shop broke the franchise system before Christmas. And they still haven't fixed that to date. I mean, if the update yesterday fixed it, I'm sorry, I haven't tested that, so maybe it did, but then it was until yesterday. That is over a month. Usually that would have taken them days. But I believe this is the final showcase of how little staff they only have available for Planet Zoo, which makes sense. When you have only one DLC left, why would you have so many people? I believe most of the assets are already done, most of the things are already done, so they're in the final polishing of it. Maybe 5 to 6 people are working on it, who knows? And so why would this be a thing? Why would you change something if that's already set in stone? And why, frankly, and that is the major point, why wouldn't you change to something where you can make more money with? I have said that for you guys out there and for the whole people buying it. I understand the pain. I understand that. I have paid so much money for Sims, for example, in the past and other games, and I was also so annoyed when then all of a sudden it ended. But then again, the new stuff, time goes on and you spend the money. It's not nice, but unfortunately that's the way how the gaming industry works these days. I mean, I can't do anything about this. I just have to look at it and see the signs. And Planet Zoo being so much on sale lately, which ridiculous, really ridiculous amounts of discounts, even on the Steam page from Frontier themselves, just shows that this is not a game you are going to support for a longer time. That is just not how you do it. And this is why I started to rethink, you know, because it wasn't until the annual report of Frontier, where all the things were mentioned and the third game all of a sudden was announced, that I was even remotely thinking of a new game. I wasn't. I was really like, yeah, no, I don't think it's gonna happen. But this was a turning point for me personally, because there's no way that they would completely go away from Zoo. Planet Zoo has been, and if you look at it completely as you know, financial person, you can definitely say Planet Zoo has been their best-selling game. If you look at the annual report of the video I made again, there is a simple reason why that is. Planet Zoo is only on PC. And yet it has outsold so many other games. It has shown similar rates like Jurassic World Evolution. That is A way bigger brand, and B, on 3 platforms. So that is ridiculous if you compare that together, you know? And all these things connected just show you that there is a change for them. And this includes Planet Zoo. They can't drop off a brand like Planet Zoo, but surely they're not developing Planet Zoo 1 anymore. So, you know, connect the dots. And that's where I'm coming from. Let's go on with one more comment. So the last comment we're looking at, which is going to have a longer answer because I'm going to bring all my other points in there, is from, oh my god, Fat Naked Jimmy Newton. God, now I have images in my head, I have pictures in my head. Okay, if they force me to pay for the DLC animals all over again, then count me out. I'll just keep playing Planet Zoo with mods. With the recent breakthrough of the exhibit mods, birds mods, and all but inevitable. Planet Zoo would be a shameless cash grab considering things like birds and full aquatics are possible in the current game. I'd rather see Frontier explore the market with new games, Planet City, Planet Farm, Planet Resort, Planet Sports. I think there are much better games to focus their efforts on while support Planet Zoo with more DLCs still decently well. Okay, let's start with the first one because that's pretty simple. I already talked about the money thing, and my personal opinion on that is obviously biased because, well, I don't have to pay for that. Still, I'm trying to always focus on it as a customer. And as I said, if you don't have to pay anything for Planet Zoo for the next 2.5 years and you can still enjoy the mods, you will not pay a single euro. And then if in 2.5 years a new game comes out which is like 60 to 80 bucks, including, let's say, 80% of the roster of the first game, I think it's a fair deal, and it's not a cash grab. However, I do agree, and I will say this now, and you can quote me on that, if a Planet Zoo comes out in 2 years, and it will only have a base roster which is the same size or maybe 10% bigger than Planet Zoo 1, then I will fully agree with you guys. Then we have the same situation, or a similar situation to City Skylines 2 at the moment. That wouldn't be that nice. But I do not believe this, for a simple reason, and this is the next point over here. With recent breakthrough with mods, birds, and so on. Now, modding is nice, and don't get me wrong, I love the bunch around Leaf and all the people doing absolutely stunning mods. And as you know, I'm using mods, I encourage them, and I believe that me and a couple of others are pretty much the reason why we are allowed to use mods without being Frontier in our necks, you know. I remember I had a lot of talks with Holly and Dahlia in the past about why modding is so important for a game and why it's so important that the developers are looking at it from a different angle. And we finally changed a year-old thing at Frontier that, you know, using mods for as a creator, using mods was not really a good thing. Let's put it that way. But things have changed, and I'm so grateful that they did. I'm so glad. My English is so weird today. Now, however, one thing I strongly disagree with is that all these things can be done in the current version. No, I think they don't. There has to be a reason why they didn't bring out full birds and why they didn't bring out full aquatics. If you look closely at Jurassic World Evolution 2, they do have both things, with a caveat. Both are in a somewhat closed environment, the aviaries and the lagoons. And the more I thought about this, I really think for how great the game Planet Zoo is, both of these solutions wouldn't work. They wouldn't feel right. They would just feel like an even bigger exhibit to me personally. So I don't agree with that. And the other thing is, I do not think that it's the job of modders to save a game. It's the freaking job of the developer. And I will say this here in this video, and you can quote me on that. I've said that in so many other videos. I do believe that Planet Zoo 1 will end as an incomplete game. As much as I love the bunch and as much as I love the game, it will end soon, and it will end, for me personally, it's my personal opinion, it's not like you don't have to follow that, but I think it's gonna end as an incomplete game. A zoo game, no matter how great all the other systems is, that is lacking full birds and full aquatics cannot be considered as a full zoo game, full stop. And I would still stick to this opinion if modders would save it. It's not the modders' job. I'm sorry, they do an amazing job and they do it for free obviously, but it's not their job. So I would rather see Frontier finally delivering a great zoo game. That is my standpoint over here. And yes, you would obviously have to pay for that. I agree, but I made my example to why I think it's not that drastic as you would have thought. Now, looking at one last thing in this comment over here, and this is something I find also very interesting. I'd rather see Frontier explore the market with new games, Planet City, Planet Farm, Planet Resort, Planet Sports. I couldn't agree more, but hold this thought for a second. Frontier's in trouble, they need a success, and they need money. So what would you do? When they have announced 2 CMS games, we all agreed that one of them has to be Planet Coaster 2. And I think that's the totally right decision. They have an audience. It's about time for a new coaster game. Frontier has a huge heritage of coaster games. It totally makes sense. The company is built on coaster games and theme park games. Yes, great. No question about this. The other point, and that is also very interesting, is I believe that the second CMS game is something new. And then the third one potentially is Planet Zoo 2. Why do I think this way is pretty obvious. They cannot experiment too much at this point. They need to land a success with Planet Coaster 2. And potentially they will. I think it's a relatively safe case. And this would give them the chance to release a new game in 2025 to explore if the market is there and if people will like it. And the chances are good that it works. But imagine it doesn't work, they have a safe bet with Planet Zoo the year after. This is how I would do it. And I wouldn't even be surprised if they would announce another CMS game for the year after. Because it just makes sense that they would expand the universe, and to be fair, expanding is only done with new games. So yeah, I do agree. I would love to see them exploring new areas and that makes sense, but I really believe they need a new foundation for that, and the foundation lays in success. And success is guaranteed with Planet Coaster 2 and potentially with Planet Zoo 2. And that's where I'm ending this video, because I think that's a fair end. I could go through all of your comments, but this would make the video awfully long. First of all, big thanks for all of you being so involved, being so open and honest with your opinions. As I said, this is all an opinion-based stuff I'm doing. There's no point in doing something like this with you guys not being involved. So I'm really thankful that you all shared your opinions. I know some of you have been rather rude because you may have been also very, I don't know, I can feel the emotions, okay? So yeah, let's end this video on a positive note. I still stick with my opinion that we will see a Planet Zoo 2 around the time between 2025 and 2027. If I would need to guess, it would be 2026, but you know, whoever knows. And I think we are all on the same page. What we want and what we should get, but as I said, the way there may be different. And hopefully this video brought light into why I made this video, why I changed my standpoint and what changed my standpoint. So expect more videos like that in the future. I really enjoy them and I want to reconnect with you guys even more. And if you're interested in knowing what's going on with Frontier, well, we all have to check this video, or this, I don't know where I put this, I have no experience with that. But check out the next video, because that's something I'm going to do as well. Making sure to keep you updated on the brand new Frontier Unlocked. What is that all about? Check out in the next video, and until then, have a good time. Bye!